All right, let's get to the teaching today. So I was thinking about this morning, and this message pops up all the time, and I always get a little irritated when I hear this. Work on your weaknesses. How can you get better on your weaknesses? Oh, identify your weaknesses and get better at them. And I absolutely reject that. So I'm gonna freak some of you out right now with what I'm about to say, but give me a couple of minutes to land this plane and it's gonna make sense. So I think that this idea, and it's a very Western Hemisphere idea, of you got to work on your weaknesses. Find the things you're weak at and really work hard on them and get better at them. Okay, but here's the problem with that. These are areas where you're weak. So if I'm weak at something and I work really, really hard on it, I might get to average. And so this is what most people don't think. You go, wait a second, Ken, are you telling me you could take a weakness and you can't make it great? No, you can't. Let me explain, and I'll be the dummy here, okay? I'll be the test dummy, right? I'm awful in math. I mean, folks, listen to me. Awful. I'm dreadful at math. I started getting into 7th grade math, and it was very apparent to me that part of my brain is completely dark. If I did a brain scan right now, guarantee you the area of your brain that helps you be good in math and problem solving as it relates to numbers and shapes and all that is completely dark. I mean, completely dark. I am abysmal at math. So let's say for a moment that I would rate myself in an area where I'm weak, like math. And let's say that we're on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being absolutely dreadful and 10 being awesome. And so my math skills, okay, just natural math talent, it's not a strength, it's a weakness. And so let's say I rated myself a 2. And I think that's probably about right. So if I work myself to the nub, I mean, just crazy effort. Oh, I'm studying math problems. I've got a math tutor and I'm beginning to really, really get this stuff. And I've sharpened my mind and I've gotten to the point where I could pass a high school algebra test. I'm still, at the end of the day, probably a 4, maybe a 5. So I've worked myself silly and I've gone from a 2 to a 5, which is average, right? 5 out of 10. So 5 would be halfway. So it's just kind of, Okay. So why in the world would I put so much effort into something that I'm a 2 at, meaning very weak, to only get to average or maybe below average? Now let's flip this. Let's take an area in our lives where we're naturally pretty good and we'd rate ourselves a 7 or an 8 or maybe a 9. Now, if I put the same amount of effort and work into the strength, the area where I'm naturally gifted, now I'm going from a 7 or an 8 to a 9, 10, maybe plus 10, which is just off the charts. We're talking greatness. Now we can pull the word great out. When we're a 10, okay, well, that's greatness. So why would I put all the time and effort into my weaknesses? So I'm going to give you something here really quick here. And what do you do with the weaknesses? Number one, be aware of them. So be aware. Be aware of your weaknesses. Don't be the person who's clueless. This is the only thing I think you need to do with weaknesses. Are these 3 things. Number 1, be aware. Number 2, don't work on your weaknesses. It's just futile. It's ridiculous. It's bad planning. It's a waste of your time. And number 3, protect others from your weaknesses. Now, this is where you're starting to go, oh, I see now, Ken. If we are aware of our weaknesses and then we don't work on them because we're just wasting time, and instead of working on our weaknesses, we're working on our strengths, and those are becoming like fine-tuned weapons and tools that we can use to do good in this world, then the only thing we need to do with our weaknesses after we have been aware of them and we're going to spend a lot of time on it, we're going to protect ourselves and others from them. So you think about your weaknesses in the workplace. What do you need to do? A, be aware of it. B, don't spend a bunch of time on it, but then protect yourself and others from them. Hey, I'm awful at these things. Let's all be aware that I am absolutely abysmal at this. This is a tremendous weakness. So therefore, I shouldn't do anything in this area of weakness. And I want everybody to know that works with me, this is an area of weakness, so that we guard from me ever having to be in a situation where my weakness hurts the team. And this is the case in life. This is going to free you up. So what you should be doing is be focusing on your strengths and talents and honing those. And so we pour all of our effort into the strengths areas. And we just guard in the weakness areas. Okay? Meaning if you have to do something in area of weakness, it's very limited. And we've got helps and systems in place. But we're not going to spend a bunch of time trying to go from really awful to okay. Nobody pays for okay. When was the last time you said, hey, sweetheart, let's go to an average restaurant tonight. And maybe we go see an average band. No, people pay for really great. You cheer for a great team. You want to go to a great concert. You want to go to a great resort for vacation. You want to go to a great dinner. That's what people pay for. So why in the world would you be okay trying to get better at average? Right? So don't do that. Free yourself. Focus on your strengths. Protect against the weaknesses. And you're going to be absolutely on fire. People are going to notice you, I promise.